Captain Kim Tae-ho stood quietly on the bridge of his ship, the UES Thunder. The bridge was small and simple, with basic control panels and plain metal walls. Nothing fancy or impressive. Just a working space for a working crew. Tae-ho was 42 years old, with short black hair and calm dark eyes. He had served in space for 20 years but had never commanded a ship. Like this one, the Thunder looked ordinary from the outside. It was painted gray like most human military ships. The hull was made of basic steel alloy with simple armor plating. There were no fancy decorations or bright colors, no intimidating spikes or fearsome designs. Just a plain gray box floating in the darkness of space. Most people would look at it and think it was nothing special. They would be very wrong. Lieutenant Park Hyun-woo sat at the weapons control station. He was 28 years old and had been working with weapons systems for 6 years. His job was to operate the ship's guns and missiles during combat. But today he had a different kind of weapon to control. Something that no other ship in the galaxy possessed. Something that would change everything. Navigator Oh Subin worked at her station tracking their position in space. She was 31 years old and had guided ships through dangerous areas for 8 years. Her instruments showed they were exactly where they needed to be. Far enough from Earth to keep the planet safe, but close enough to send a message that would be heard across. The Galaxy Communications Officer Yoon Dae-yoon monitored all the radio signals and messages coming from nearby space. She was 25 years old and spoke 7 different alien languages. Her job was to listen to what their enemies were saying and report it to the captain. Right now she was hearing a lot of laughter and cruel jokes. Chief Engineer Lee Min-ho worked in the lower decks of the ship, keeping all the systems running properly. He was 35 years old and understood machines better than most people understood other humans. For 3 years he had been building and testing the Thunder's most important system. The one thing that made this plain-looking ship the most dangerous vessel in human space, the alien fleet appeared on their detection screens like angry red dots. 12 massive ships, each one 3 times larger than the Thunder. Their hulls were made of advanced metal that could resist most weapons. Energy shields surrounded each ship, creating a protective barrier that could stop missiles and laser beams. Plasma cannons jutted out from their sides like the teeth of some enormous predator. The lead ship was the largest of all. It belonged to Admiral Vexstar of the Galactic Council. Vexstar was a member of the Keth race, which had conquered over 300 worlds in the past century. The Keth were tall humanoid creatures with gray skin and 3 eyes. They considered themselves the master race of the galaxy and looked down on all other species as inferior. Admiral Vexstar sat in his command chair, studying the human ship on his main screen. His 3 eyes glowed with amusement as he took in the plain appearance of the Thunder. Where were the fearsome weapons? Where were the impressive energy shields? Where were the signs of advanced technology? All he saw was a simple metal box that looked like it had been built in a basic factory. The communication system crackled to life and Vexstar's voice filled the Thunder's bridge. His words were translated by the ship's computer from the Keth language into human speech. The translation made his voice sound cold and mechanical, but the mockery in his tone came through clearly. "Pathetic," he said, drawing out the word like it tasted good in his mouth. "Is this the best that Earth can offer us today? We came here expecting to face warriors, and instead we find children playing with toys. We expected a real challenge, and instead we get a flying piece of scrap metal." Lieutenant Hyun-woo felt his hands tighten into fists. The alien's words made his blood burn with anger. He had spent months training with the Thunder's weapons systems. He knew what this ship could do even if the aliens did not. "Sir," he said quietly to Captain Tae-ho, "should we respond to their insults and show them what we really are?" Captain Tae-ho smiled, but his eyes remained calm and focused. He had expected this reaction from the aliens. Most species in the galaxy judged others based on appearance and size. They thought bigger was always better and fancier was always stronger. They were about to learn a very hard lesson about making assumptions. "Let them talk, Hyun-woo," he said in a steady voice. "Words have never won a battle, and they never will." Actions are what matter in the end. Soon they will see what human actions can accomplish. The alien ships moved into attack formation around the thunder like wolves surrounding an injured deer. Each ship was positioned to fire on the human vessel from a different angle. Their energy signatures lit up the darkness of space like a dozen small suns. The combined firepower of the alien fleet could destroy a small moon or level an entire city. Against one small human ship, it seemed like complete overkill. Admiral Vexstar opened another communication channel, and his voice boomed across space once again. "I will give you one chance to surrender peacefully," he announced. "Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. We might allow some of you to live as slaves if you cooperate. Your primitive weapons cannot even scratch our advanced energy shields. We have conquered over 1,000 worlds in our long history. Your little planet Earth will soon join that list." Other alien commanders joined the conversation, adding their own threats and insults. They spoke about how weak humans were compared to their own species. They laughed about how easy it would be to take over Earth and enslave its population. They made jokes about keeping humans as pets or using them for manual labor. Chief Engineer Minho worked quietly at his station in the lower decks, listening to the alien voices through the ship's internal communication system. His hands moved carefully over the controls, monitoring the Thunder's most important system. The one thing that would wipe the smiles off those alien faces. The one thing that would make them stop laughing forever. The system he was monitoring had no official name in the military records. The scientists who built it simply called it Project Void, but the crew of the Thunder had given it their own name. They called it the galaxy's biggest surprise. Captain Tejo stood up from his command chair and walked to the main view screen. Outside, he could see the alien ships positioning themselves for attack. Their weapons were charging up and their shields were at maximum power. They looked confident and arrogant. They looked like predators who had cornered helpless prey. He opened a communication channel to all the alien ships at once. His voice was calm and steady without any trace of fear or anger. "This is Captain Kim Tae-ho of the United Earthship. Thunder," he said clearly. "You came here expecting to find weak opponents who would run away or surrender without a fight. You thought you could scare us with big ships and loud threats. You were wrong about us, just like you have been wrong about so many things." The alien commanders laughed even harder at his words. Some of them placed bets on how quickly they could destroy the human ship. Others wondered if they should capture it instead and put it in a museum as an example of primitive human technology. None of them took the threat seriously. Admiral Vexstar raised one of his weapon arms in a gesture of dismissal. "Enough games, little human," he said with contempt dripping from every word. "You have wasted enough of our valuable time with your pathetic posturing. All ships prepare to fire on my command. Let us end this embarrassing display once and for all." But Captain Tae-ho was already giving his own order to Lieutenant Hyun-woo, the order that would change everything. The order that would make the aliens stop laughing and start running. "Hyun-woo," he said quietly, "charge the void cannon." 3 years before this moment, Dr. Choi Jin-ae had been working on the frozen surface of Pluto in the outer edges of the solar system. Her research team had been sent there to study ice samples and look for signs of ancient life. They had drills and scanners and all the equipment needed for scientific exploration. But what they found was not what anyone had expected. Jin-ae was 34 years old and had spent her entire adult life studying physics and space science. She understood how matter and energy work together. She knew the laws that governed the universe. But on that cold day on Pluto, she found something that broke every rule she had ever learned. The discovery happened by accident. Her team was drilling deep into the ice looking for water that might have been liquid billions of years ago. The drill hit something hard at a depth of 3 kilometers. Something that should not have existed so far beneath the surface, something that did not belong in their solar system. When they brought the object to the surface, it looked like a piece of black glass about the size of a human fist. But it was not glass, and it was not made of any material they recognized. When Jin-ae held it up to the light, nothing happened. The light simply disappeared as if it had never existed at all. The fragment was taken back to Earth where the best scientists in the world studied it for months. They used every instrument and every test they could think of, but the results made no sense according to everything they knew about physics. The object was not made of matter as humans understood it. It was made of something else entirely. Lajane worked day and night trying to understand what they had found. She ran hundreds of tests and created dozens of theories. Finally, she realized the truth. The fragment was not made of any kind of matter at all. It was made of the absence of matter. It was a piece of space itself that had been collapsed and compressed into solid form. She called an emergency meeting with the Earth Defense Council. The council was made up of military leaders and government officials who made decisions about protecting the planet from threats. Dr. Jin-A stood before them in a conference room deep underground and explained what her team had discovered. It is a fragment of collapsed space, she told them. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she held up the black object. Not dark matter or antimatter or any kind of exotic matter. We have theorized about this as actual nothingness that has been given physical form. It is the complete absence of existence compressed into something we can hold. The council members looked at each other with confusion. Most of them did not understand the science behind what she was saying. One general asked the question that was on everyone's mind: what can we do with it? Doctor, what practical use does this discovery have for us? Jin-A took a deep breath before answering. When we studied the fragment, we found that it has a very unusual property. It can erase other matter from existence. When we touched it to a piece of steel, the steel simply stopped being. It did not melt or burn or break apart. It just ceased to exist, as if it had never been created in the first place. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The fragment was not just a scientific curiosity, it was potentially the most powerful weapon ever discovered. A weapon that could erase anything it touched from reality itself. General Park Sang-min was the first to speak. He was the head of Earth's Space Defense Forces and had been a soldier for 30 years. Doctor, are you telling us that this object can destroy anything? How much destruction are we talking about? That depends on how much of the material we can gather and how we choose to use it, Jin-A replied. The fragment we found is small, but if we could find more or learn to reproduce it, we could build weapons that erase entire ships from existence, not destroy them or blow them up, but make them never have existed at all. The council voted unanimously to fund a secret project to weaponize the discovery. Jin-A was put in charge of a team of the world's best physicists and engineers. Their mission was to build a weapon using the collapsed space fragment. They had unlimited resources and complete secrecy. The work took 3 years and cost billions of dollars. The scientists had to learn how to handle the fragment safely without accidentally erasing themselves from existence. They had to figure out how to aim it and control it and make it work as a weapon instead of just a dangerous artifact. The weapon they built was called the Void Cannon. It looked like a large metal cylinder with complex electronics and cooling systems built around it. The collapsed space fragment was suspended in the center, surrounded by magnetic fields and energy barriers. The cannon could fire a beam of pure nothingness that would erase whatever it hit. The beam was not made of energy or matter. It was made of the absence of both. When it struck a target, the target would simply stop existing. The atoms that made up the target would be removed from reality along with all evidence that they had ever been there. It was as if the universe itself was being edited. The Earth Defense Council decided that only one ship would carry the Void Cannon. It was too dangerous to mass produce and too secret to trust to multiple crews. The ship they chose was the Thunder. Because it looked ordinary and harmless, no enemy would suspect that such a plain vessel carried the most powerful weapon ever created. Captain Taeho was chosen to command the Thunder because of his calm personality and steady nerves. The weapon required perfect timing and careful judgment. One mistake could erase his own ship from existence along with the enemy. He had trained for 2 years learning how to use the Void Cannon effectively. Lieutenant Hyun Woo had been his weapons officer during the training. He knew every detail of how the cannon worked and how to fire it safely. The weapon took 90 seconds to charge to full power and could only be fired once every few minutes. The energy requirements were enormous and the targeting had to be perfect. Chief Engineer Min Ho had helped build the weapon and understood its technical systems better than anyone else. He knew that each shot put tremendous stress on the ship's power systems and that too many shots could overload the entire vessel. The Void Cannon was incredibly powerful, but it was also incredibly dangerous to use now. As the alien fleet surrounded them, the weapon was about to be tested in real combat for the first time. The training simulations had been successful, but this was different. This was a real battle with real enemies who wanted to destroy them and conquer their world. The charging process began with a low humming sound that seemed to vibrate through the ship's hull. The sound grew louder as more power flowed into the weapon. The magnetic containment field strengthened, and the collapsed space fragment began to resonate with deadly energy. Navigator Subin monitored the alien ships while the weapon charged. They were still in attack formation, still confident that they could easily destroy the human vessel. They had no idea that they were about to witness something that would change their understanding of what was possible in warfare. Communications Officer Zhuzh continued listening to the alien radio chatter. They were still making jokes about the weak human ship and planning how to divide up the Earth's resources after they conquered it. Their arrogance was about to cost them more than they could imagine. The Void Cannon reached 50% charge, and the humming sound became a deep throb that could be felt in every part of the ship. Captain Tejo watched the tactical display showing the positions of all 12 alien vessels. They were exactly where he wanted them, close together and completely unprepared for what was coming. 60 seconds to full charge, reported Minho from his engineering station. The Thunder was about to fire the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. The Thunder shook violently as alien weapons pounded against its hull. The ship had never been designed to withstand this kind of punishment. Its shields flickered and sparked under the constant bombardment. Explosions erupted across the vessel's surface as secondary systems overloaded and failed. Captain Tejo gripped his command chair as another blast rocked the bridge. Smoke filled the air and emergency lights flashed. Red computer screens cracked and sparks flew from damaged control panels. Several crew members had been thrown to the floor by the impact of alien plasma beams, but Tejo remained calm. His dark eyes focused on the tactical display that showed the positions of all 12 enemy ships. They had moved into the perfect formation, exactly as he had hoped. They were close together, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. They had no idea what was about to happen to them. Lieutenant Ninwu worked frantically at his weapons console. His fingers flew over the controls as he made final adjustments to the Void Cannon's targeting system. Sweat dripped down his face despite the cool air on the bridge. He had trained for this moment for 2 years, but the reality of combat was more intense than any simulation. 40 seconds to full charge, announced Engineer Minho over the ship's communication system. His voice was steady despite the chaos around them. The Void Cannon continued its charging cycle, drawing enormous amounts of power from the Thunder's main reactor. The alien ships pressed their attack with renewed fury. Admiral Vexstar had decided to end what he saw as a pathetic display of human defiance. His flagship led the assault, firing massive plasma beams that could melt through solid rock. The other 11 vessels followed his example, pouring their combined firepower into the human ship. "Why do they not retreat?" asked one alien captain over the communication channel. "They must know that resistance is futile. They cannot hope to survive against our combined might." Vexstar studied the human ship through his main viewing screen. Something about their behavior puzzled him. No species in his long experience had ever stood their ground when faced with such overwhelming odds. Most civilizations surrendered or fled when confronted by Galactic Council forces. "Perhaps they are simply too primitive to understand their situation," suggested his tactical officer. "Many lower species lack the intelligence to recognize when they are defeated," but Vexstar was not convinced. There was something deliberate about the way the human ship had positioned itself, something calculated about their lack of retreat. Either these humans were the most foolish creatures in the galaxy or they possessed some hidden advantage. 20 seconds to full charge, Minho reported. The Thunder's hull began to glow red from the heat of the alien weapons. Small fires broke out on several decks as the ship's armor finally began to fail. The vessel was clearly dying, its systems shutting down one by one under the relentless assault. Navigator Subin struggled to keep her station operational as sparks flew from her control panel. Hull breach on Deck 7, she reported. Emergency force fields are holding, but we are losing atmosphere communications. Officer DeYoon monitored the alien chatter through her damaged equipment. They are discussing how to board us, sir. They think we will surrender any moment now. Captain Tejo allowed himself a small smile. The aliens were about to learn that humans did not surrender easily. They were also about to discover that appearances could be very deceiving. His plain-looking ship was about to demonstrate why Earth had survived when other worlds had fallen 10 seconds to full charge. Minho announced. The moment had finally arrived. The weapon that had taken 3 years to develop and cost billions of dollars was ready to fire. The compressed fragment of collapsed space hummed with deadly energy contained within its magnetic prison. The Void Cannon was fully operational and aimed at 3 alien ships that had clustered together. For their final attack, Admiral Vexstar decided to finish the battle with one overwhelming strike. All ships focus your fire on their bridge section, he commanded. Let us end this pathetic resistance once and for all. 12 alien warships turned their weapons toward the Thunder's command center. The combined energy output was enough to destroy a small asteroid. The plasma beams and particle cannons all fired, simultaneously creating a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from millions of kilometers away. The Thunder's shields collapsed instantly under the massive assault. The ship's hull began to buckle and crack as the alien weapons tore through its armor. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the vessel as critical systems failed and fires spread through multiple decks. Now, shouted Captain Tejo, Lieutenant Hin Wu pressed the firing control. The void cannon activated. There was no flash of light, no thunderous explosion, no visible beam streaking across space. The weapon fired in complete silence, creating only a slight ripple in space itself that was barely noticeable to the naked eye, but the effect was immediate and terrifying. 3 alien ships simply vanished, not destroyed, not exploded, not reduced to debris. They were there one moment and gone the next, as if they had never existed at all. The space where they had been floating was completely empty, no wreckage, no energy signatures. No trace that 3 massive warships had ever occupied that region of space. The remaining 9 alien ships stopped firing immediately. Their crews stared in shock and disbelief at the empty void where their comrades had been. Sensors showed nothing. Instruments detected no evidence of what had happened. The 3 ships had simply been erased from reality. What happened? Demanded Vexstar, his voice filled with confusion and growing fear. Where are my ships? Report immediately. His officers frantically checked their instruments, trying to find some explanation for what they had witnessed. Their most advanced sensors could detect no trace of the missing vessels. It was as if the universe itself had been edited and 3 ships had been deleted from the equation. Sir, stammered his science officer, I am detecting no debris, no energy readings, no residual signatures of any kind. The ships appear to have simply ceased to exist. Vexstar felt a chill run through his body. In his long career as a military commander, he had seen many weapons and many types of destruction, but he had never encountered anything like this. No weapon could simply erase matter from existence. It was impossible according to all known laws of physics. Captain Tejo opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice was calm and steady, despite the damage to his ship and the chaos on his bridge. That was our first shot, he announced. Would you like to see our second? The words sent waves of panic through the alien crews. They had come to this battle expecting an easy victory against a primitive species. Instead, they had witnessed something that challenged their understanding of reality itself. 3 of their most powerful warships had been wiped from existence by a weapon they could not comprehend. Impossible, whispered one alien captain. No species possesses such technology. No weapon can do what we just witnessed. Retreat, shouted another captain, his voice filled with terror. These humans have some kind of forbidden power. We must withdraw immediately. But Admiral, Vexstar was too proud to flee. Despite his growing fear, he had built his reputation on never backing down from a fight. His career had been built on victories against supposedly superior enemies. He could not allow a single human ship to defeat an entire Galactic Council fleet. It must be some kind of trick, he announced, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Perhaps a teleportation device or a cloaking system. There must be a logical explanation for what we witnessed. He was wrong. The 3 ships were gone forever, erased from reality by humanity's impossible weapon. The crews who had served on those vessels, the memories of their construction, the records of their battles, all had been wiped from existence as if they had never been. The void cannon began its charging cycle for a second shot. Admiral Vexstar faced a decision that no Galactic Council commander had ever confronted in the long history of their conquests. His remaining 9 ships still outnumbered the humans, but the mysterious weapon had changed everything. 3 of his finest vessels had been erased from existence without leaving even the smallest piece of debris behind. His tactical officer Morgex leaned close to whisper urgent advice. Sir, we should withdraw immediately and report this to the High Command. They need to know about this human weapon before we lose any more ships. Vexstar's 3 eyes burned with rage and humiliation. The idea of retreating from a single primitive ship made his stomach turn with disgust. He had conquered dozens of worlds and defeated hundreds of enemy fleets. His reputation as an unstoppable military leader was known throughout the galaxy. And admit defeat to one pathetic human vessel, he snarled. Never. I would rather die in battle than face that kind of shame. We will find another way to destroy them. He studied the tactical display with desperate intensity. The human ship was clearly damaged. Its hull was cracked and bleeding atmosphere. Its shields were completely gone and fires burned on multiple decks. If his remaining ships could destroy it before the weapon charged again, victory could still be achieved. All ships adopt scatter formation immediately, he ordered. Maximum evasion patterns. Do not give them a group target like before. The 9 surviving alien vessels spread out across a wide area of space. Each ship moved in unpredictable patterns to make targeting difficult. Their formation looked like a flower opening its petals with the thunder trapped in the center. Captain Tejo watched the enemy ships disperse from his damaged bridge. The strategy was exactly what he had expected intelligent opponents to do after witnessing the void cannon's power, but it would not save them from what was coming. They are learning quickly, observed Lieutenant Hyung Woo as he monitored the alien movements, but it will not help them in the end. 70 seconds to second shot, reported Engineer Minho. The charging time had been reduced slightly due to residual energy from the first firing, but the weapon still required more than a minute to reach full power. Communications Officer Dae-yoon intercepted urgent alien transmissions. Sir, they are attempting to jam our sensors, and they have sent a priority message calling for reinforcements. How many reinforcements? Asked Captain Tejo. Unknown, sir, but the message was broadcast on emergency channels. It could be dozens of additional ships or even hundreds. Tejo nodded calmly. He had expected this development. The aliens would throw everything they had at humanity. Once word of the void cannon spread across their empire, that was why this first battle was so crucial. It would determine whether Earth became a target for total invasion or a forbidden zone that no alien dared approach. 50 seconds to full charge. Minho announced the alien ships began a coordinated attack, but this time they approached from 9 different directions simultaneously. Their plasma beams and energy missiles streaked toward the thunder from every angle, making it impossible to avoid all the incoming fire. They are adapting their tactics faster than we hoped, noted Navigator Subin as she tracked the multiple attack vectors. It does not matter, replied Tejo. Hyungwoo target Admiral Vexstar's flagship. The weapons officer locked his targeting system onto the massive alien command ship. Vexstar had positioned his vessel at the center of the scattered formation, believing that his superior armor and shields would protect him from the human weapon. 30 seconds to full charge, Minho called out. Admiral Vexstar watched his tactical display as the energy readings from the human ship spiked again. The same mysterious signature that had preceded the first shot was building to dangerous levels. His ship's computer calculated the probable target, and the results made his blood run cold. Evasive maneuvers, he shouted. All power to engines immediately. His massive flagship began to turn its enormous bulk, struggling to change direction. Quickly, the ship was built for firepower and armor, not for speed or agility. Its engines strained to move the heavy vessel out of the weapon's targeting path. The other 8 alien ships continued their bombardment of the thunder, hoping to destroy it before it could fire again. Their combined weapons lit up space with brilliant flashes of energy. Each blast weakened the human ship's already damaged hull 10 seconds to full charge, Minho reported. Vextar's flagship was still turning when the weapon reached full power. The ship had moved several thousand kilometers from its original position, but it was still not far enough. His three eyes widened with terror as he realized he could not escape in time. Fire, ordered Captain Tehov. Second void beam lanced out across the darkness of space. It moved faster than light itself, striking toward the alien flagship with the power to erase matter from existence. But Vextar's desperate maneuver had saved his life by the smallest possible margin. Instead of hitting the ship directly, the beam caught only the port side of the massive vessel. Half of the flagship simply ceased to exist, along with 300 crew members who were erased from reality in an instant. The remaining half of the ship spun wildly out of control, its systems failing as it tried to function with only part of its structure. "Damage report," gasped Vextar as emergency alarms screamed throughout his crippled vessel. "Sir, we have lost 50% of our mass," his engineering officer reported. "Life support is failing, propulsion is offline, and weapons are inoperative. We need immediate evacuation." The other alien captains watched in horror as their admiral's mighty flagship tumbled helplessly through space. Half of the most powerful ship in their fleet had been deleted as if it had never existed. The crew members who had been standing in the erased sections were gone without a trace. "All ships retreat to minimum safe distance," ordered Vextar. Through gritted teeth, "We need time to develop new tactics." The 8 remaining functional alien ships pulled back to a range of several thousand kilometers. They were now fully aware of the human weapon's terrible power and no longer willing to risk close combat. 2 shots had reduced their fleet from 12 ships to 4.5 functional vessels, but Captain Tejo knew that the real battle was just beginning. The aliens would not give up. After suffering such losses, they would return with more ships, better tactics, and a burning desire for revenge. Humanity had revealed its secret weapon, and now they would face the full might of the Galactic Council's military forces. "Sir, incoming hyperspace signatures," reported Subin. "Multiple contacts approaching fast." "How many?" asked Tejo. "I count 47 ships, sir." "Various classes and sizes. It appears to be a full battle fleet." The alien reinforcements had arrived much faster than expected. Within 6 hours of the first battle, a massive fleet was converging on the human ship. The Thunder was surrounded by overwhelming numbers with no hope of escape through normal means. "Set course for the outer system," ordered Tejo. "We need to draw them away from Earth." The Thunder's damaged engines struggled to life, pushing the battered vessel toward the edge of human space. Behind them, the alien survivors regrouped and merged with the newly arrived reinforcements. The combined fleet now numbered 56 warships of various types and sizes. Navigator Subin plotted their escape route through the outer planets. "Sir, at our current speed they will catch us in approximately 4 hours. "That should be enough time," replied Taiho. "Communications send a message to Earth. Defense Command tell them the plan is working and that they should prepare for the next phase." The message was brief and coded, but its meaning was clear. The Thunder was leading the alien fleet away from Earth, just as planned the ship would make its final stand in the outer system where the battle could be fought without risking the home. World Communications Officer Dae-Yoon monitored the alien chatter as the massive fleet gave chase. "Sir, they are coordinating their attack patterns. They plan to surround us and attack from all directions simultaneously." "Let them come," said Captain Tejo. "We still have surprises left to show them." The chase had begun and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The alien reinforcement fleet arrived like a swarm of angry insects. Descending from hyperspace, 56 warships of various sizes and configurations, all converging on the location where the Thunder had humiliated the mighty Galactic Council. The ships ranged from small fast attack vessels to massive dreadnoughts capable of destroying entire cities. Admiral Vextar transferred his command to the largest reinforcement ship since his own flagship was crippled and barely functional. His new command vessel was the Eternal Conquest, a kilometer-long dreadnought with enough firepower to level a planet. The ship's captain had given up his bridge to the famous admiral without question. "This time we do not underestimate them," Vextar broadcast to the entire fleet. "The humans possess one terrible weapon, but it requires time to charge between shots. We will overwhelm them with superior numbers and coordinated attacks, the fleet commanders acknowledged his orders with grim determination. They had all heard the reports of ships being erased from existence. Many of them had served under officers who had been deleted along with their vessels. The human weapon had created a new kind of fear among the alien military Captain Tejo studied. The massive enemy fleet on his tactical display. The Thunder was running on emergency power with many critical systems damaged or destroyed. The ship's hull was cracked in dozens of places and atmosphere was slowly leaking into space, but the void cannon remained operational, and that was all that mattered. "Sir, they are spreading out across the entire outer system," reported Navigator Subin. "There is no way to target more than 1 or 2 ships with each shot." "That is acceptable," replied Tejo calmly. "We only need to hit the right targets to send our message." Chief Engineer Minho had been working frantically to repair the Thunder's damaged systems. "Captain, I have managed to reduce the charging time to 65 seconds, but the weapon is showing signs of instability. I cannot guarantee it will not overload after a few more firings." "How many shots do we have left?" asked Tejo. "Perhaps 3, maybe 4 after that. The void cannon could tear our ship apart from the inside. The containment fields are weakening with each discharge." Captain Tejo nodded grimly. They had enough firepower remaining to make a statement that would echo across the galaxy, but each shot brought them closer to destroying themselves along with their enemies. It was a dangerous game, but humanity's survival depended on playing it perfectly. The alien fleet began its coordinated assault using tactics designed to counter the human weapon. Ships attacked in carefully timed waves, forcing the Thunder to choose between multiple targets. Their strategy was to make the humans waste their limited shots on individual vessels while the main force closed in. "For the kill, first attack wave incoming," announced Lieutenant Hinwu. 12 ships approaching from the port side. "Let them come closer," ordered Tahoe. "Target the command ship at the rear of their formation." The Thunder maneuvered through the asteroid field at the edge of the solar system, using the rocky debris as cover. The alien ships followed in pursuit, their sensors locked onto the human vessel, their weapons charged as they prepared to finish what they had started. 40 seconds to full charge," reported Minho. The leading alien ships opened fire with everything. They had plasma beams and particle cannons lit up the darkness as they tried to destroy the Thunder before it could use its weapon again. The human ship shook under the bombardment but continued its evasive maneuvers. Captain Tejo guided his vessel through a series of turns that brought them closer to the main alien formation. The enemy commanders were so focused on their attack that they failed to notice the Thunder's true heading until it was too late. 20 seconds to charge," Minho announced. The Thunder burst from behind a large asteroid directly into the path of the alien command group. 3 massive ships, including a heavy cruiser, were caught completely off guard by the sudden appearance of the human vessel. They scrambled to change course, but their momentum carried them forward. "Fire," ordered Tejo. 3rd void beam struck the alien heavy cruiser amidships. The ship was 2 kilometers long and carried 5,000 crew members. It vanished instantly along with everyone aboard, leaving only empty space where a mighty warship had been floating moments before. The remaining alien ships in the formation panicked as they realized how close they had come to sharing the same fate. Several vessels collided with each other. As they tried to escape the area, their carefully planned attack dissolved into chaos. 4th shot charging," reported Minho. "But sir, the weapon is becoming increasingly unstable. I am detecting microfractures in the containment field." "How much longer can we keep firing?" asked Tejo. 2 shots at most. After that, the system will definitely fail and probably take us with it." Captain Tejo opened a communication channel to the entire alien fleet. His voice carried across space to every ship in the enemy formation. "This is Captain Kim Tejo of the United Earth ship Thunder. You came here expecting to find an easy conquest. Instead, you have discovered why humanity has survived when stronger species have fallen." The alien commanders listened in stunned silence as the human captain continued his speech. "We do not fight just to win battles. We fight to ensure that our enemies remember the price of challenging us. We fight to make certain that those who threaten our world understand the consequences of their actions." Admiral Vextar felt rage building in his chest at the human's words. All ships ramming speed, he commanded. Destroy that vessel before it can fire again. We will overwhelm them with sheer numbers. The remaining 53 alien ships abandoned all tactics and strategy in favor of a desperate final assault. They charged toward the thunder like a pack of wolves rushing toward a wounded animal. Their combined mass was enough to crush the human ship through. Impact alone. Sir, they are coming straight at us, reported Subin. All ships maximum acceleration. Good, said Taeho. Set course for the large asteroid cluster Hyunwoo. Prepare for rapid sequence firing. Captain, if we fire twice in quick succession, the weapon will definitely overload, warned Minho. I understand, replied Taeho. But we are going to make those final shots count. The Thunder raced toward a dense field of asteroids with the entire alien fleet in pursuit. The human ship was vastly outnumbered, but Captain Taeho had one last desperate plan, a gambit that would either save humanity or destroy them all. 30 seconds to weapons range, reported Subinth. Alien ships spread out slightly to avoid collisions, but they remained bunched together for the final attack. Their commanders wanted to ensure that the human ship could not escape through gaps in their formation. They were about to learn why that was a fatal mistake. Target the largest asteroid in the cluster, ordered Taeho, the one that measures 4 kilometers across. Sir, we are shooting at rocks now, asked Hyunwoo in confusion. Trust me, replied the captain. This will work. The Thunder dove into the asteroid field with dozens of alien ships following close. Behind, the enemy vessels were so focused on their prey that they failed to notice the tactical significance of the captain's chosen target. 15 seconds to weapons range, announced Subin. Fire fourth shot, ordered Taeho. The void beam struck the massive asteroid dead center. 4 kilometers of solid rock simply ceased to exist, creating a spherical void in space. The gravitational disruption sent smaller asteroids spinning wildly in all directions like bullets fired from invisible guns. The pursuing alien ships suddenly found themselves flying into a deadly storm of debris and gravitational anomalies. Several vessels were struck by fast-moving rocks that punched through their hulls. Others had their navigation systems disrupted by the chaotic gravitational fields. Brilliant, whispered Lieutenant Hyunwoo as he watched enemy ships crashing into each other. Captain Taeho was not finished. Final shot, he ordered. Target the center of their main formation, the Thunder's void. Cannon prepared to fire its last shot before destroying itself forever. The Thunder raced through the chaotic asteroid field with 50 alien warships in desperate pursuit. The gravitational disturbance from the destroyed asteroid had created a maze of spinning debris and unstable space. Captain Taeho had turned the battlefield into a trap, and now he was ready to spring it. Sir, the enemy ships are having trouble maintaining formation, reported Navigator Subin. Several have collided with debris and at least 6 are showing major damage. Perfect, said Captain Taeho. They are exactly where we want them. The alien fleet had bunched together as they tried to navigate through the dangerous asteroid field. Their ships were close enough to touch each other as they struggled to avoid the spinning rocks and gravitational anomalies. They had abandoned their scattered formation in favor of staying together for mutual protection. Admiral Vexstar realized too late that he had fallen into a trap. All ships spread out immediately, he commanded. Do not cluster together like that. But it was already too late. The alien vessels were committed to their course and moving too fast to change direction. The Thunder had led them into the perfect position for one final devastating attack. Charging sequence initiated. For the last shot, announced Engineer Minho. But sir, the containment field is critical. The weapon will destroy itself and possibly take us with it. How long do we have? Asked Captain Tao. 60 seconds to full charge, then the system fails. Completely. After this shot, the void cannon will be gone forever. Captain Taeho looked at his crew. The bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. Emergency lights flashed red and several control panels had been destroyed by the constant alien bombardment. His people were exhausted and wounded, but they remained at their posts. This is it, he announced. Our final shot. We are going to make it count. Lieutenant Inwoo targeted the center of the alien formation where the largest ships were clustered. Together, the enemy vessels were so close that a single void beam could potentially hit multiple targets. Simultaneously, 40 seconds to full charge, reported Minho. Alien ships continued their pursuit through the asteroid field. Their weapons fired constantly trying to destroy the Thunder before it could use its terrible weapon again. Plasma beams and energy missiles streaked through space, creating brilliant flashes of light among the dark rocks. "They are getting closer," warned Subin. "Range is down to 5,000 kilometers. Let them come," said Captain Tejo. "The closer they are, the better our final shot will be." The Thunder's hull glowed red from the heat of the alien weapon's multiple hull breaches vented atmosphere into space, and fires burned on every deck. The ship was dying, but it only needed to survive for a few more seconds, 20 seconds to full charge, Minho announced. Admiral Vextar watched the energy readings spike on his sensors. He knew what was coming, but there was nothing he could do to stop it. His ships were trapped in the asteroid field, unable to scatter or retreat. The human captain had outmaneuvered him completely. "All ships brace for impact," he ordered, though he knew it would make no difference. 10 seconds to full charge, reported Minho the Void. Cannon's containment field began to fluctuate wildly as the weapon prepared for its final discharge. Cracks appeared in the magnetic barriers that held the collapsed space fragment. The system was on the verge of complete failure. "Fire!" ordered Captain Tejo. Fifth and final void beam erupted from the Thunder's weapon ports. It struck the center of the alien formation where 7 ships were clustered together. The beam passed through all 7 vessels, erasing them from existence in a single devastating attack. The massive energy discharge created another gravitational disturbance that sent the remaining alien ships spinning out of control. Several more vessels collided with each other or were struck by debris. The carefully organized fleet was reduced to scattered survivors trying to escape the chaos. The void cannon overloaded with a sound like reality itself being torn apart, the weapon that had made the Thunder